I did it. Good morning, guys. It is 8:30 my local time. It is the day after the big PoE 2 announcement of the third edict. PoE 2 patch 0.3. Lots of cool things to cover. I have a small list of things that I really found to be the biggest hitters. So I'll go over those. If you're interested in all the little tidbits and everything there is to watch and see, and you should be going here, pathofexile2.com. They have you click this big button, I'll write edict up here and you'll go here. You can watch the trailer. You can look at all the new things that are coming. You can probably go on YouTube and find some content there too, but I will keep it to my few topics, as otherwise this would take even longer than the live stream itself, which lasted for like 3 hours. Right, let's get right into it. The big hitters. First, let me just list the things I'm gonna talk about. Asynchronous trade, gem restrictions and new gems, new currencies, splinters, and the removal of the secondary difficulty throughout the campaign. Right, let's start off with the big one, the biggest one. Maybe not the biggest one for me, but probably the biggest one for a lot of people. Asynchronous trade. It might actually be the biggest one for me because this is potentially prompting me to go into Trade League, which is kind of crazy. I've been an SSF Andy for quite a while now, but the asynchronous trade triggers something in me where I actually think the feeling of trade will be that of the olden days, but in a good way. And let me break that down. So in the good old days, you could find good deals, buy them, because there were not enough people around to there were not enough people or tools around where anything good would be instantly spammed and people would know that they were selling something for too little, or there wouldn't be enough buyers so that things could sit for a little while. Even though an item might actually be really good, it might be a bit niche or whatever. But nowadays, things get sniped up and bought up so fast. You'll go in, you'll do a trade, and you're like, oh, that's a good deal. You go in, and like, oh, no, I upped it by 5 chaos. Oh, no, I upped it actually by 2 divines. Oh, no, this is like half a mirror now. It's like, what? It's like, and sometimes people get carried away with themselves, and you end up trying to buy an item for double its worth, and they still don't want to sell it to you. I was like, now, asynchronous trade, what does it actually do? Now, you're going to convert. I do believe you will have one tab by default, or you can convert some of your premium chat tabs. Good way of monetizing. And then there's Agna or Angus or some girl with the letter A in King's March will now present you with the ability to trade items through a shop in your hideout. So you take an item, you feed it into the stash tab that she has for a gold fee, and you list it for one specific currency orb and an amount. So it could be 10 chaos, 100 exalts, 2 divines, something like that. And once it's listed, you cannot take it out until a cooldown is gone. And anytime someone enters your hideout, I think, to check it out, it will then trigger a refreshing of the cooldown. So you won't have people just sitting there taking their items out when too many people show up. Because this is what's going to happen. You put it in the thing, it gets listed, and then people can click on the Path of Exile trade system on the browser, and it'll immediately port their character into your hideout, and it's going to be a race to who can get it first. So this is like a return to form, I think, to where you can actually go out, look at an item, feel like, oh, that's a good deal, and you might actually get it. No bullshit. That is exciting. I'm very excited for that. Now, we don't know the full implications of what this will do to trade because we haven't had this in PoE before. But I think with the fact that there's a gold cost, I don't think you'll have a race to the bottom. There will be a floor and there's going to be cheap things, but as you want to buy in more and more items, you don't want to buy bad items when you have to buy it for some amount of gold. However, obviously, as any league goes on, more and more items, like the base floor, the items go up, and like the worst item, like there'll be lots of items for sale, and you'll be able to buy better and better items, obviously, over time, compared to your currency. But again, I don't think this is gonna net a problem. I think this is just gonna become a more enjoyable experience, because for people who already knew how to trade or were good at trading, this was not even a fact. Like, they would upgrade and power upgrade their items through trade anyways. This just grants more access to more people in a way that's not frustrating. So it's not, I wouldn't say this is granting more power. It's essentially granting the people who hated the system the power that people who just overcome it had. And I'm looking forward to it. So you're probably going to see me playing hardcore trade. If I am, you should join me. Now, next up is gems. Gems are no longer limited to one. Specific support gems are no longer limited to one. That's crazy. Now, this was one of their big features where in the past they've argued that, oh, this is so they can be more creative, they can make more powerful, more interesting support gems. But what it really did is it, and I would probably agree here, as much as I saw the argument for the one limit system, I really thought they were going to keep it at least for a little while longer. But honestly, the frustrations, and I think what they realized once they reverted back, I think I wholeheartedly agree with. It ends up just becoming this cumbersome puzzle where you're constantly thinking, does this go on this skill or this skill? And if this skill is my best skill, it becomes my main skill, because there's a combination of gems, more or less always, that ends up being the more powerful on certain skills. And if that one skill has a bit of an edge, it becomes your main skill. But because there's not enough diversity, especially when you specialize in an archetype, there's not enough variation of support gems to where you have enough power on your other skills to make them equally viable to that first skill. So you end up actually being a one-button build, i.e. Lightning Spear with Vault. So hopefully this will actually create what they want, which is multi-skilling for multi-purpose and for rotations and such. With some of the new gems they've revealed as well, it does look like that. I noticed the charge duration on things were really high. They're doing a lot to enable you to be able to play multi-skills, to play multi-abilities, but also allowing you to play your pure classes, like full lightning. Remember, like if you're just playing full lightning, and you have already used all the good lightning supports, now you can use them on all your lightning skills, and you'll be fine, right? Rather than feeling like you had to play multiple different skills with utility, and it kind of felt like this samey thing where one was a utility, one was your buff, and everything led to feeding into this one skill. Where it's like, oh, I'm setting up this combo, but again, you're just setting up the combo pieces to buff the other ones. That was what was the case. Now I'm hoping this will be turning more into like the other skills will feel like they matter more now, and potentially like 2-3 main skills. That could be the hope. Obviously there's still gonna be some amount of main skilling going on. I think that's unavoidable, especially with the new lineage gems. The lineage gems are essentially unique gems for supports. They're like unique supports. I don't know if you can use those on all your skills. I didn't actually check. I mean, since they say they're unique, they could be limited to one. I don't know. Let's see. Does it show down here? New support system. I'm not sure if it shows right here. Anyways, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Also, they're increasing, so that's one thing. So now you'll have more. This will probably end up feeling that you have more choice. And then because there's so many support, it's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna have some variation on my skills, some similar ones and some variation, where you can really find the flavor, and it's gonna be really hard to find the perfect setup. They also have the lineage, yeah, those are new, and then they have additional tiers of supports. Now, any given support, regular support, will have 3 tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Well, they will progressively get stronger and stronger. So that means that your lower tier, like, so you'll get like, I think what they want to do is more or less give you 1 tier per act, and then the last one becomes the lineage one. That's the 6th tier basically. So like 5 main tiers. So you'll have your cast speed go like 15 or whatever, like 15 cast speed, 20 cast speed, and then the 3rd tier generally makes it the 3rd tier into something special where it does something extra. So like, I think the gem they showed, it was like 10% cast speed per spell used in the last 8 seconds, not 4. I think what they've learned is that if they want combo pieces, then they want the game to be played in a more dynamic way, where it's just not spamming one skill. They need to give ample opportunity to play it in that way. So that means charges last for longer. I think the charges last for longer. I saw like charges lasting for like 38 seconds in the footage, which is a long time. Now you can actually build them up properly. You know, you have time to regenerate another one before the first one falls off. Same thing for these like temporary buffs. Like 8 seconds up from 4 is a world of difference, and it's just what we needed. And I hope that they're gonna keep it this way, where it's like, because we have like shock now lasting for 8 seconds. They're adding freeze combos and such. Like before, ignite was like so hard to support, and the cold skills were like lacking damage compared to like lightning skills, which just had more lightning. It was like, especially on boss fights, you see some stuff like cold where you freeze one time and then you try and capitalize on it, and it's like, okay, so you did 10% of the health and now you need to freeze it again, which takes another 20 seconds because now they have a higher threshold of freeze. And so they've recognized that, and now for unique fights, they're getting bonuses to cold skills. And I think what they're doing is they're allowing the identity of the skills to actually play out and be better, and I'm all there for it. Next up, currencies. So for the currencies, we're also getting tiers. Lesser, greater, perfect, I think, is the scheme that they're mostly they're more or less going with here, with the lesser version being the current version that we have, greater being an upgraded version, and perfect being the best version. Some notable things here. So how is this going to relate into the actual game? Now, what I think we're going to have here is, once you go through and you play the game, before you would go through your general like crafting experience of, you do a transmute, it can roll the lowest tier and it sucks because you wanted the higher tier. Like, you get a nice base item, you do your augment transmute augment, it goes did they revert like the T1 is the best and T8 is the worst? I don't know. I think they might have, I don't remember now, but let's assume they did. Let's just say T8 is the worst, T1 is the best, and you hit T8, and it's like, what the fuck, that sucked. Now what this change does is the greater will incur a leveled up minimum tier. So like if T8 is the worst, maybe it's like T7 or T6, and then that's on the greater, and on the perfect, maybe it's like within the top 3 tiers. I don't think we have the specifics on this yet, but it works in a similar fashion to the item tiering system, where there's like a minimum tier that you hit. So there's a minimum level of power. Now, where this is really powerful is when you have your Chaos Orb, for instance, the perfect Chaos Orb. It removes one, and then it replaces it with a high tier. Imagine that. And then imagine now you pair it with omens as well, where you know that, like, let's say you have 2 T1s on the prefix, some bad tiers in the suffix, and then you use the perfect orbs with the omen to only remove suffix, add the prefix, you know it's going to be a higher tier. I mean, just that will mean that once you start using these systems, you will have a guaranteed quality through this crafting. But it comes from the orbs themselves, not the bench, not some... The meta crafting will be some combination of the dropped orbs plus some of the stuff we have. And I think this is actually good. I think this is very good. Also, it'll cull down the total amount of items dropped on the ground. So to get a perfect orb, you need to be in higher tier maps. That'll vastly increase your chances to get the highest tiers. So what it does is essentially says, in the drop pool, rather than having all the low tier have the most, it'll like squeeze those out and push the higher tiers, you know, like make it so that there's more higher tiers available. So like let's say in like a T1 map, maybe there's like, I don't know. I'm just guessing right now. Let's say that of all the exalts dropping, 99 of them will be the regular one. One of them will be greater. And then maybe at like T5, now it's like 90 of them will be the regular one. 10 of them will be greater. Still no perfect. Once you grow up to maybe you need to be in T16 maps, right? Just baseline T16. Now you have that same scheme of like, maybe it's like, we're like 75 normal, 24 greater, 1 perfect. And then as you go up, it squishes more and more. So maybe it's like, you get 50 of this, 45 of that, and 5 of that. Or like, you know what I'm saying here. I'm just kind of throwing something out there. But what you can see is like, as you're leveling up, the quality of the currency to craft with increases as well. So that the quality of the base items you're finding can be met with the quality of the currencies that you're finding. But sometimes you just want to like, that doesn't remove the value of the Exalted Orb, because that still needs to be spent on all your maps. So this is kind of generating a better sync, and it is culling away a lot of the... Actually, I don't even think it's going to remain the 100. It'll be like, instead of there being 100 Exalts available, there'll just be less of the Exalt converted into the higher tier. So like, it'll convert like... maybe 50% of all the exalts dropped into the higher tiers by some function. And I think it's going to be really good. It's very exciting. The item system, I think through this, we'll see a significant increase in enjoyability. Also, the essences, now all turn them from blue to rare. With a guaranteed modifier that you can see beforehand. Another very nice thing. Now, so this doesn't drag too long. Let's just keep going. The last thing I want to touch on here is Splinter. Splinters, I think the amount are the same. However, when you enter a fight, you can do a lower tier fight. So you can decide what tier you do, not through the passive tree, but by amount of splinters you use. So let's say you have 100 splinters. Before it would cost you 100 splinters to go in and do the fight. The lower tier versions will now cost 50. The next tier 75, and the last tier 100. So that means that if you want to farm like an entry-level item from some pinnacle tier or some league mechanic, you can do twice as many attempts for the same amount of splinters. And you have more agency over when you do it. So this removes a lot of the FOMO, as these tokens are not equal value at low and high tier. So this should make it so that everyone would be able to better use their tiers for this. Now, for the last pinnacle boss, there's only 2 tiers now, the regular version and the Uber version. So that should be fun as well. Anything else to cover? I mean, there's so much more to cover, but I think those were like my top 5 changes. Asynchronous trades. Oh, I guess that was 4. Well, the 5th one then would be... Shit, I forgot this one. Campaign. They removed the secondary stage of the campaign, added Act 4, and then it's like, oh, but then they're missing 2 acts. Well, what they did is they added interludes, which are like... temporary small stories crafted for the purpose of getting you to 65 in endgame. Which honestly is really cool. I'm hoping that they're gonna have like side stories woven into the game in the future, not just for this. It looks really cool aesthetically, how you like enter it. So that should be really good. And I think that'll make a lot of people happy. And as the final little tidbit here, you can ID all in PoE 1. Okay, those are my 5 things. Asynchronous trading, gems no longer limited, and multiple progression tier for gems now. Multiple progression tiers for currencies, and multiple progression tiers for splinters. And the removal of the secondary playthrough in the campaign. I mean, they cooked, and they listened, and they not only listened, they try. I think what we can see here is that they know what they're doing, right? Like for the people who are like, oh, I don't know about this Jonathan guy. He doesn't seem to be like, dude, he knows everything about, well, maybe not everything, but if you listen to him talk about the game, there's a decision that's been made at every stage of the things that they say and they talk about, where they've carefully considered what impact this is going to have on the player and what impact it's going to have on the game to craft the best game that they can. And this patch has given me more faith in the PoE 2 project that I've ever had, even though I had full faith already. So yep, let's log in on launch, play some hardcore trade, and I'll see you then. More videos coming this week.